Again, my favorite student, good old Anne. I did a Google search once. So if you Google Anne Sirkey, it looks like it's a bootleg website that has a bunch of answer keys for university tests that some college students in the States have set up. So that must be their secret code that, ooh, no one will think of this joke. And that way we'll all say, go find your answer key online. Anyways, I wanted to know if it was a real person because I thought it'd be great. Maybe I'll teach an Anne Sirkey someday. An object starts at rest. I would probably underline the word at rest. At least I would mentally make a note. Travels for 18 meters over the next 4 seconds while accelerating constantly. Why do I say accelerating constantly? A changing acceleration we can't deal with without calculus. So you'll often see me put that word in. Or if the acceleration is changing, I'll say we're finding the average acceleration. That's me just being fussy. Wants me to find the acceleration. Okay. A equals question mark. Looks like VI equals 0. D is 18. Do I need to make that 18 negative? Have I ended up behind or below from where I started? No, then I think I'm okay. And T equals 4. I'm looking for an equation that has an A, a VI, a D, and a T in it. There is one. Liam, which equation, my friend? And you didn't even bother reading the VIT. I was all set to say, don't waste my time, but that was good. You said, Mr. Dewick, it's going to be D equals 1/2 AT squared. The other way you could write it is 0.5 AT squared. The other way you can write it is AT squared over 2, because that 1 in the 1/2 isn't really doing anything. We want to get the A by itself. How? Well, depending on how you wrote it. Yeah, go ahead. Yep. Getting the hang of this. Again, if I can get you into doing the math, the algebra up here, it's so much better than plugging the numbers in and just mindlessly solving. Because later on, when I give you more thought puzzles, you'll be able to rearrange equations algebraically and just see what's going on and actually be able to convince me. That's the goal. So it's going to be 2 times 4. No, 2 times 18 divided by 4 squared. Can I do that one in my head? 2 times 18 is 36 divided by 16 divided by 4 divided by 4. It's going to be 9 divided by 4. Yeah, I can do it in my head. Is it 2.25? Yeah. Units, meters per second squared. Okay? So if you got the right answer, I would give you 2 out of 2. As long as you showed some work and it was obvious you hadn't just copied. Otherwise, I would give you a half mark if I saw that, even with the VIT, a half mark for rearranging the equation, a half mark for the numbers, and a half mark for the answer. So if you make a calculator typo, you can still get 1.5 out of 2. And that's kind of why I do that. I, again, don't care as much about the answer as I care about the process. We'll get there. Final speed of the object. One way to do B would be to use this. Now, the only risk with that is I'm using my answer from A to find B. If you feel like it, go ahead, as long as you know you got A right and you're confident. So I wouldn't take marks off, especially because VI is 0, if you just said, oh, it's going to be 2.25 times 4, which I'm pretty sure is 10? Yes? 9? Yeah? 9? Okay. If I chose not to do that, I would say, okay, VF equals question mark. I think I would go with D equals VI plus VF times T over 2. And if I get the VF by itself, the D is going to drop down like a domino. I would times by 2. I would divide by T. I would minus the VI over. That equals VF. Although since VI is 0, I probably could have just skipped writing that. And I'll get 2 times 18 divided by 4, which is 36 divided by 4, which is also 9. Now, this might be, again, this is a test where I probably wouldn't hand it in early. On a lot of the written questions, especially a part B, you'll be able to go and try finding it a different way, and if you get it the same answer both ways, hey, I must have got part A right as well. I'm going to go to 2 sig figs just to make it look more impressive, but if you just wrote 9, I'm not taking marks off. Again, same as before, Jaden. Half mark, half mark, half mark, half mark. Number 2 wants me to find A. Okay. Looks like VI is 1.5, VF is 8.6, T equals 4.5. Ronan, which equation, my friend? If you didn't bother writing VF equals VI plus AT, because it's actually on your green sheet and rewriting it is kind of a waste of time, I would then give you 1 mark for doing that. The half, I would say, oh, you must have found the correct equation, that's worth a half mark, and you rewrote it correctly, that's the other half mark. And now let's plug in the numbers. It's going to be 8.6 minus 1.5 divided by 4.5. Could I do that one in my head? This one's yuck here. That's going to be 7.1 but no shortcuts there, Mr. Duick.
Whoa.
Brackets around the top, but I don't need brackets around the bottom. Do you get 1.57 repeating? So if I go to 3 sig figs, 1.5 is 1.58. And that's an acceleration, meters per second squared. Have you all figured out my marking system scheme? Okay, I'm not going to keep putting in the 0.5s. Now you know how to give out the part marks. Oh, if you forget units or wrong units, half mark off. And you can also go work for Verizon. I should make up a little Verizon job application sheet. I should type it up, make it look all... I should find if there is a Verizon job application sheet online, and that's what I should give students. I should like staple it to their quiz or their test when they forget the... I'm doing that next year. Oh, I just thought of that. Yeah.
I'll get a job at Verizon so I can show you what they make that application like.
Oh, okay. Yes. What was that? There you go. Well, that would cost me money, and sorry. No money for that. Distance traveled. So D equals question mark. Oh, this is nice. I can use D equals bracket VI plus VF times T over 2. I could also use D equals VIT plus a half AT squared. I could also use VF squared equals VI squared plus 280. I got 3 different ways to do it. I would probably go with this because the D is already by itself and I'm using the data that they gave me. Then I might also quickly on my calculator go D equals VIT plus a half AT squared, see if I get the same answer. It's going to be 1.5 plus 8.6 times 4.5 all over 2. Now that's how I handwrite it. How do I type it? Is this a fraction? Yep. More than one thing on the top. I would open up a bracket, and then there's a second bracket, this mini bracket of 1.5 plus 8.6. Close off the mini bracket times 4.5. Close off the top. Divided by, don't need brackets around the bottom because there's only one thing there. Do you get 22.7? 25. And again, if you wrote 0.725, I'm not taking marks off, but my habit is 3 sig figs. Units, meters. A car moving at 24 meters per second to the right, slows down. First thing I did when I saw slows down, I put a big negative in front of my acceleration so I wouldn't forget. How far does the car go before stopping? I guess this is asking me to find a distance. VI is 24. A is negative 3.8. That's only 2 things. I need 3 things to find the fourth. What else do I know? Yeah. Oh, stopping. Braden, which equation? I'll give you a hint. A equals. No, D equals.
Yeah. Equals yes.
Good. Get a little nerdy adrenaline rush every time you write those two. You'll laugh, but honestly, it always brings me a tiny smile to know I'm doing it in my head and saving myself a lot of writing because I'm clever and I'm enough of a nerd to enjoy that even today. 0 squared minus 24 squared. Now the top is going to work out negative, but then, wait a minute, the bottom is also going to work out negative. I'll get a positive displacement. We're slowing down, but we're still traveling forwards. I am ending up in front of where I started from. 0 squared minus 24 squared, close off the top, divided by 2 times negative 3.8. You get 75.8? How come?
Because I did it different.
What'd you do?
Formula.
What'd you?
And VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AB.
That's what we used.
I forgot. Oh, never mind. I know that. Yeah.
Sorry?
I forgot.
I'd give you, so you got negative 75.8?
No, I know.
So you might have done this. If you look up, Liam, you might have put the 24 for VF and the 0 for VI, and that would make the top positive, even though it should have been negative, and then you forgot the negative. You made 2 mistakes. Anyways, if I caught that, I would probably give you a 1.5 out of 2 and say, check your signs, even though you got the right answer, or show it to me later. B, time. Oh. Sarah, what would you use to find time? Yeah. I could probably find it using the D as well, but why? This is a fairly easy one that we've rewritten a bunch and are getting pretty good at probably by now. It's going to be VF 0 minus 24 divided by negative 3.8. Liam, again, here I'll get a negative divided by negative. I'm positive. And I will get a positive time. Time is the one variable where if you get a negative answer, you've messed up. Go hunting for it. Go check your, and usually it's either a calculator typo or a sign error, a subtle negative that you missed somewhere. Time is positive. But I saw a movie where we went backwards. No, time is positive. We'll talk about time more when we look at Einstein. Pretty smart human. 6.331 or 3.2? So if you said 3.1, I would take a half mark off and I'd say learn to round off. 6.32. Units, seconds. Next page. Find the acceleration. Looks like VI is 12, T is 6, D is 96. This is actually the same question as question 1 that Liam and I did, except VI isn't 0. So we'll have to do a little more work. In other words, it's going to be the same equation, D equals VIT plus a half AT squared. To get this A by itself, let's see, the D is going to drop down like a domino. I would minus the VIT over. How will I move the 0.5 and the T squared over? Why? Yeah, there's little breadcrumbs in the question that kind of tell you what to do. So divide by 0.5 T squared. That's an equation for acceleration. By the way, you're going to find later this year, you'll be getting a bunch of equations for acceleration because it's a really important concept. 96 minus 12 times 6 divided by 0.5, 6 squared. I might be able to do this in my head. 12 times 6 is 72. 96 minus 72 is going to be 26 minus 24. It's going to be 48. It's 48 over 36. Divided by 12, divided by 12, 4 over 3. Is it 1.3 repeating?
Wow.
I can do math in my head. No. Someone a couple of generations ago would be much better than I am. I've told you, I was right at the generation where we started using calculators. What I'm doing, you just used to have to do as a survival technique in the generation before my generation because you didn't have a calculator. Spencer.
Would you round off that?
Like Yeah, I went to 3 sig figs, 1.33. What's after the 3? Good. No, that's a good. We make those little mistakes sometimes. Like, don't get round off happy. Yep. Find the velocity after. I think this is asking me to find a v final. They didn't use the word final, but after implies later. That's why I said you kind of read the time sense of the question. And that part I don't know how to teach except to say read the time sense of the question. I'm going to use, I think, d equals vi plus vf times t over 2. I think I'm going to use vf equals 2 times d over 2. No, over t minus vi, I think. You could also have used vf equals vi plus at and used your answer from part A. If you're unsure and you were like, I'm not sure I'm rewriting this equation correct, do it with vf equals vi plus at. Check, compare your answers. You'll know you probably got the other one right. Anyways, it's going to be 2 times 96 over 6 minus 12. I could probably do that one in my head too, because 2 over 6, that's like dividing by 3. So it's going to be 32, 20 even? Or am I wrong? 20? And it's meters per second. If you didn't put the dot after the 0, I'm not taking marks off, but my habit is 2 or 3 sig figs, so I even could have gone 20.0. And also, it shows off that I did the math in my head to 3 sig figs, and I like to brag, whatever. Ooh, here's the jet question. Okay, they want the minimum length. I guess they want me to find d. We said we can assume the jet starts at rest, and it looks like VF is 84, A is 3.75. Do I need to make that acceleration negative? Are we speeding up or slowing down when the jet hits the gas? Okay, so a habit to always ask yourself is, do I need to add the negative in front of the A or not? In this case, no. I think it's going to be VF squared minus VI squared all over 2A. It's going to be 84 squared. Oh, this one I won't be able to do in my head. Divided by 2 times 3.75. I tried to make these numbers realistic, so you'll probably get something close to 1,000 meters, because that's typically minimum takeoff length for a jumbo jet. What do we get? Yeah, 941?
Yeah.
So when I make up questions, I do try and make the numbers realistic. So if you were doing this and you got an answer of 92 meters, I hope you would look at your calculator and say, I don't think that's right. I must have made a typo somewhere. Or if you got an answer of 90,000 meters, again, I hope you would look at your calculator and say, I must have missed a decimal place somewhere, or done something wonky, made a typo. I think this is asking me to find VI. Looks like there's a distance of 42.5 meters. Looks like there's a time of 1.6 seconds. Uh-oh, that's only 2 things. I need 3 things. What did we agree about car accidents? What's V final of every car accident
Always
ever?
0.
Okay.
They never keep going. Keep going. I've never seen a car accident that doesn't result in a stop.
I think I'm going to get VI equals 2 times, the D is going to drop down. I'll divide by T, and then I would minus the minus the VF. Although since VF is 0, I guess I could just ignore that. It's going to be 2 times 42.5 divided by 1.6. You get 53.1? By the way, that's actually the minimum VI. Why is it possible they could have been going faster? Yeah. Sorry? Well, no, but like what? Even if I convert that to kilometers per hour, yeah, Darman. They could have been slowing down before skidding, right? So when we did that question in our notes, what I should have mentioned was, by the way, this is the minimum speed you could use in a court of law. You could certainly argue if there was witnesses, oh no, he slowed down or she slowed down for a while before skidding. Okay, they were going faster. So this is minimum speed. Now, again, the fact that the cell phone picks up the sound of the skid is such a fluke. You don't know enough physics yet, but we will revisit this question later on this year, and I'll show you how, from only the skid marks and knowing how friction works, you can calculate what their initial speed had to have been as a minimum. And again, it's a minimum because they might have slowed down before skidding. Can you give yourself a lovely score on this take-home quiz, please, out of 20? If you need to lawyer with me, now is the time.